So this is video 3 in our fraction playlist, and in this video we're going to go over what the numerator and the denominator of the fractions are. So these are terms that you may have heard already, and we will actually compare it with division and see that fractions, something that we mentioned previously, are really just another way of writing division between two integers. So let's look now again at our usual pizzas or pies. Okay, so when we have a single pie, say we have one pie, and we have 8 guests at our party. So we would like to divide the pie among our 8 guests. We can do that simply with a circle. We just make we just pass a few lines there, and we get 8 slices. And so each slice here, we had said earlier, can be written as an eighth of a pie. Okay, so we have 8 of these. We've divided the pie into 8 slices, and so each guest gets an eighth of a pie. Now, the important thing is that in this way of writing it, on top here we have the number of pies, and down here the 8 is the number of guests, right? Now, again, the pies are just an example here, and the number of guests is an example for any fraction. So what is our 1 here? 1 is the number of items, right? The number of items that we want to divide. In this case, it's a pie. What is our 8? The number of guests. The number we would like to divide it into. So our divisor. Now, the divisor is also basically the number by which we are dividing our pie. So a good way of remembering this is that on top, okay, we have the number of items, and on the bottom we have again the divisor, or the number of people we're giving something to. So I will call that the sharers, the number of sharers. Okay, so we have 8 people sharing a pie. We may have 4 kids sharing 3 cupcakes, and so on. The important thing is that on the top we always put the number of items, and on the bottom we put the number of sharers. Okay, now the mathematical words for these are the numerator, that goes on top, and the denominator goes on the bottom. And that is the explanation for these 2 numbers. Now, what happens if we say have 3 pizzas or 3 pies that we are dividing among our 8 guests? Well, then we can go ahead and start dividing all these into 8 and adding up the fractions, right? So we can say each person, each guest will get an eighth of a pie from each one of these pies. So they'll get a total of an eighth plus another eighth plus another eighth. But we can also write it as the number of items, remember that is 3 here, over the number of sharers. Again, we have 8 guests, so that's 3f. So this is now the number of pies, and here the 8 is the number of guests. Whoops. And this is true in general. So now if someone tells you we have a certain number of pies and a certain number of guests, and each guest will get 3 eighths of a pie, if you know that there are 8 guests, well, then you can guess that there are 3 pies, because we have 8 guests here on the bottom, and on the top we have the number of items that we want to divide among the guests. Let's look at another example. Let's say we have 7 items, and we would like to divide them among 8 people. Okay? In that case, we don't have to draw the items. We don't even know what they are. And we don't necessarily need to know that we're dividing them among 8 people. It could be among 8 portions or 8 bank accounts, could be dollars. But what we know is that when we divide, each person or each divisor, right, will get 7/8. That will be the result. So what we're doing is we're dividing 7 into 8, and we're saying that that equals, in fraction, exactly 7/8. Let's do another one. Let's say we have 15 people, and we're going to say that each person gets 3/15 of a dollar. Well, then how many dollars do we have? Well, we have $3 because we have 15 people here, and so the number of items up here is 3. So we have $3. Okay? So this was a quick review of what the numerator and the denominator of a fraction are, and a reminder or an explanation of how the fraction is basically equivalent to the division operation. We will be going on to explore some more examples and get a little bit deeper into this. So if you haven't seen the first 2 videos in this playlist, I do recommend that you go check them out. If this video was helpful, please like, and if you have any comments or questions, please include those below.